Okay, guys, sorry that I haven't been making videos for quite a while, but as the saying goes, better late than never. Welcome to another discussion time video. This is episode 8. I want to talk about a game show called Dog Eat Dog. You may be asking me, why do I want to discuss this show? Well, I have a good reason. Remember the game show Fear Factor that used to air on NBC back in the day? Well, the MTV network brought it back with a different host, that being Ludacris. He's not that bad, although let's face it, Joe Rogan will always be Mr. Fear Factor, in my opinion. So here's what I was thinking. What if MTV also brought back Dog Eat Dog? I mean, think about it. Dog Eat Dog is practically the same thing with that Fear Factor does, just without gross insects, dealing with body parts from animals, stuff like that. Yeah, Dog Eat Dog is kind of similar to Fear Factor, just without the gross stuff. It's more on the dangerous stuff, if that makes any sense. Now, before I go over why they should bring the show back, let me go over a brief history and how the show concept works. This is what the original logo looks like overseas. This was used on not only just the UK version, which is basically the original Dog Eat Dog. Australia also had this logo. It looks completely different than what we got in the States. I think this logo looks very interesting and personally better, but that's just my preference. This is the presenter. Her name is Ulrika Johnson. I don't know how it's pronounced, but this is how it's spelled. So if I pronounce her name incorrectly, I do apologize. Here's how the show works. You got 6 contestants, 3 male and 3 female. They're basically sent to a training camp, to take on challenges and stuff, and their job is to pay attention to their opponents so they can find out who will be successful in certain challenges and who would not be. And then when they're presented a challenge, their job is to make sure they vote for someone who will fail at the challenge to make it easier for them. But if they choose wrong, then that person will probably come back at one of them and get revenge on them. Basically, each of them will vote for who they think will fail at a challenge. Whoever gets the most votes has to do the challenge, whether it being a physical challenge or a brain puzzler challenge, stuff like that. The US version's slightly different. I'll go over that a little later in the video. Now, that person has to deal with the challenge, that being time-based. Most of them are time-based. I think they're all pretty much time-based. They have to complete a challenge. And if they're successful, they can choose to send somebody else to the loser's bench. But if they fail, then that person who tried to do the challenge gets sent to the loser's bench. Then they do another challenge, and then they vote, and they keep doing this routine until basically there are 2 contestants remaining to figure out who's tonight's top dog. And something else I need to mention, if there's a tie, basically 2 or more people have the most votes, then it's up to the person who got previously sent to the dog pound. They get to decide who they want to see take on the challenge. And you know how it goes. In the head-to-head challenge, this is where 2 contestants are remaining. Whoever accomplishes at the head-to-head challenge is declared top dog. And whoever fails at the challenge is basically joining the other 4 at the loser's bench. And then comes final trivia. The solo player has to pick on one of the other 5 to see who will get the question wrong on a certain category. They can only pick them once. Once they pick them, they can't pick them again. And they're given a question. If that person gets a wrong answer, the solo player gets a point. If they get a right answer, they get a point. The first to 3 points takes home the grand prize of 10,000 pounds. If the solo player wins, they take home the whole money. But if the loser's bench actually wins, they all split 10,000 pounds and they each get 2,000 pounds each. And the solo player gets nothing. Now let's go over the US version. This is what it looks like. Completely different, don't you think? This is our host, Brooke Burns. She was also famous in other shows, specifically The Chase on GSN, as well as the short-lived Hole in the Wall that aired on Fox. Personally, between her and the original host, I like Brooke more because she's hotter, in my opinion. And I think she does the presenting on the show slightly better. That's just my opinion. Now, the US version is identical to the UK version, although there are some differences. Obviously, the set's different, theme song, logo, stuff like that, but In Season 1, the host asks who does that person vote for and why. Season 2, they actually changed it a bit. Now, for Season 2, they actually got rid of the host asking who do they vote for, and they just show who got the most votes. I actually prefer this way because I love that noise they use to reveal who got the most votes. If they ever bring that show back, they should do this concept for sure, just to save time. Anyway, and that person, whoever gets the most votes, obviously, they have to do the challenge, and you get the idea. The host also asks the contestants, whoever they voted for, who got the most votes, why did they vote for that person, and they explain why. Okay, I'm not going to describe much because I don't want to go over 15 minutes, but let me explain what the differences between the US and the UK version of Dog Eat Dog is. Now, for starters, we have a swimming pool in our version, so some challenges took place in the swimming pool, and they do their challenges there. There's also challenges that involve identifying which one's a man and which one's a woman. Basically, they're presented with 5 men or women, and they have to figure out which one's the real man or the real woman. There's also ones where they have to basically compete against other people, whether it's competing against a pool shark, answering true or false questions against a canine, or shooting archery against one of those people who try to use bow and arrows with their feet. That one was also interesting. There's also strip challenges. That was only in Season 1. I'm glad they got rid of it in Season 2. Of course, a lot of people are going to be like, dude, the strip challenges were awesome! Well, you might like it. I didn't care for them, to be honest. If I had a favorite strip challenge, it'd be Strip Hangman, where they have to basically guess a puzzle, because I like Hangman, personally. I'm not a strip challenge person. Also, the interesting thing about strip challenges, if there's basically 2 guys and 1 woman left, they usually pick on the lady because they want to see a woman naked. And if there's only 1 guy left and 2 ladies, basically the ladies pick on the guy, and then basically he has to strip naked instead. So I'm glad they got rid of the strip challenges in Season 2. If you guys liked it, well, that's your opinion. I'm going to respect that. So, yeah. Another difference is we called our loser bench the Dog Pound. I think it's a better name than the Loser's Bench. I think Dog Pound's a better name. Also, the show was sponsored by Net Zero, by the Countdown Clock, and Circuit City for the big screen. If they ever brought the show back, it'd be sponsored by Best Buy. Don't be surprised about that. So, yeah. That's differences between the US and the UK Dog Eat Dog. Also, if you want to check out the show Dog Eat Dog, I totally recommend it, though I should point out 2 things. Number 1, some clips are basically posted in parts, fragments of episodes, so if you want to look at for whole things, just be sure to look at the title and description and focus on the contestants, on who's playing and what. Also, the show is not really family friendly, so there are some challenges that are not really appropriate. Like I said, the strip challenges. Basically, if they got rid of those, then the show would be a bit more family friendly. So, yeah. If they ever brought this show back, whether it being on regular stations or stuff like that, that's just my opinion. So, yeah. Anyway, before I go over to the conclusion of my discussion time, basically asking if they should bring the show back or not, I should point out there were other international versions. There was an Australian version, which only lasted a short while because there were some contestants who actually did not get their money from the show because the episodes they participated never aired on their local station where it broadcasts over there, unfortunately. There was a Dubai version, which basically had contestants from different countries in that region. Basically, they are the Arabic-speaking area. There was a German version, which basically had 5 contestants instead of 6. There was a Singapore version, which had a different name because they thought Dog Eat Dog sounded a little inappropriate, so they called it Show Me Your Power, which sounds like a perfect version if they ever made a kids version of the show. And there was also a Poland version, which has basically a similar concept as the other international versions that I mentioned. And yeah, those are the only international versions as well, besides the 2 that I mentioned in the video. So, my question is, should they bring back Dog Eat Dog? I say yes, they should. Because this is basically like a sister show to Fear Factor and The Weakest Link. That's just my opinion. So thanks for watching. This is KeepMeMe25 signing off. Join me in the next discussion time video. For now, bye.